Well, hello there, friends. So today, what we're doing is an XL headliner on a Suburban. So this is going to be a headliner job to the XL Extreme. So these are the problems that you're going to be seeing with these type of vehicles when the headliner starts coming apart. You'll see something like that. You'll see something like that. And you'll see something like that. So the reason that happens is on these Chevys and GMCs. You can see here that when they cut the material for the headliner, they cut it right to the edge. So when they start getting older and the foam starts to break down, foam is always the problem when it comes to headliners, is the material here separates from the headliner. And because of that, foam just goes away. So what happens is if you're driving around with your window rolled down, the wind catches that, and then it's just constantly pulling and tugging on this, and this here will just continue to get worse and worse. So some people think that they can put new glue to fix this, but that's not the problem. The problem is that foam. So sure, they could probably fix it here and put some of that spray stuff that sounds like three men, but I have other videos that I tell you to stay away from that stuff. Okay, so what happens is that glue, it soaks through this headliner fabric. Okay, then you got a big ugly sticky mess, and not only that, but you're leaving a mess for the future for whoever's going to be replacing your headliner. It's going to leave a sticky mess for that person that's fixing your future headliner. Okay, so even if you do fix this area here, okay, that means that this area here is someday also going to start pulling apart somewhere. So that's why a repair is not that great. You can see it's coming apart here at the windshield also, because it's just going to continue to it'll just continue to come apart. So that's why we're doing a replacement. So we're going to start taking this car apart. Just pulling on these plastic parts will surprise you, but you know what? That's where you start. You just start pulling stuff apart. So this is what's holding on the sun visors. It looks like a CRV T15 or Torx 15. It's pretty small. And that's what that there looks like. It's not a Phillips head. So usually I use my screw gun, which would take these off a lot faster, but I can't find the socket, which is a 1/4-inch socket for these types of bits. And here I am, going old school with a screwdriver. It's the only tool I have at the moment. So next we have the assist handles. Let's take a 10mm. So you might remember technique number 422. Okay, that was taking all your parts, putting them on the floorboard like that, so that way they don't get lost. That way when you go to put everything back together, the parts will always be there. Now these handles right here, grab handles, they're friction fit. So usually what I just take a small flat blade screwdriver, pull these out like that, and you can see it pulls away. I leave them in there. I leave them in the headliner until I take the headliner out, because there's other clips on the back of the headliner that hold it in. So now for this mid-console light, What you do is you take your same flat blade and you pry that loose. There we go. Now that'll give you access to these two screws right here. So now there's several of these buttons right here. It's nice to have a pry tool, something like this. That way you can just kind of hook it and pull them out like that. Just try not to break them. If they land somewhere, just gotta find them. Sometimes they'll just pop right out. And now the coat hanger hook. Take the flat blade screwdriver again. There we go. Just separate like that. And what that does is it pulls it away from the body. Now for the rear dome light, take your flat blade, pry that loose. It's like a door, which is kind of neat. Just kind of pull it out just like that. Couple more things for this rear headliner is this wire here for the rear dome light. Go ahead, go ahead and remove that. And this push clip right here in the back. Now I believe we might have something here. Yeah, look at that. That's the first phase. That's just the first phase. We still have the front headliner to pull out. So I thought that this screw here was going to be another T15, but T15 wouldn't go. So I found out it's a Phillips head on this car. When you hit the like button, other people have the opportunity to see this video too. So now just a little bit more finagling, get it loose. Now if you didn't have this wiring harness up here on yours, we probably could have got it out by now, but we have wiring harness to deal with up here. So there is no easy way to get this wiring harness loose. I thought maybe there would just be like one big plug on the side. You can plug one and then everything comes out, right? At least in a designer's perfect world. So that means that we have to pull the wiring off the harness. It's held on by some kind of like it looks like hot glue, but I know it's not, or else it would come apart in the heat. This would probably be the deal breaker of the whole job right here, is taking this off. whether or not you want to tackle it yourself or not. So now that I have the wiring harness loose, I'm going to go ahead and try to send this out the back now. So I think that there alone was worth the price of admission. Now we even started stripping off the headliner yet. I think I'm going to go inside. It's supposed to be one of the hottest weeks of the year at this time. Okay, I'm going to remove this coat hanger hook by pressing it in like that. That's what that looks like. Now let's flip it over and see how easy or how hard it is to take off this old fabric. So as you can see here, how the fabric separates from the foam. That's always the case. Just like that. Actually, you know what? This foam is still really good. I can see here it's deteriorated a little bit on the side. I'll just go ahead and finish taking this one off. It's separating really nice. Usually the foam will be like powder, but this one here is really nice. Yeah, it's real obvious here on this edge. And that happened to be where it was pilling up before. I'm going to do the smaller piece, which is the rear headliner. I'm going to do that first because it won't take me as long to do as the big piece. And really, the big piece is going to be exactly the same process as the small piece, except it's a lot bigger. So what I will do is take my wire brush and we'll just take off all the loose stuff. So the foam seems to be coming off pretty easy. So, I get a lot of comments about cleaning off headliners. And I always talk about how I use a wire brush. So I get all the comments of, what about a wire brush on a drill? Or some kind of a machinery that'll do and take off the foam. So anyway, my comments are always the same. I guess I'm old school, right? I just use the brush. So my comments back to them is, imagine a wire wheel brush on a drill, taking this stuff off. Okay, it's going to load up in the first couple minutes. See how it's all getting into the wire brush right here? That's what's going to happen to your wire brush on a drill. Not only that, but not all headliners are made the same. This one here is a harder fiberglass. So I have another video where I'm doing a truck headliner, and the type of headliner material that it's made out of. It's a layered fiberglass, kind of like fiberglass insulation like you'd have in the walls of your house. Okay, like the pink stuff. So anyway, if you were to use a wire brush on that, it would just totally destroy the headliner. So that's why I stick with what I know. Been doing this a long, long time. And you know what? I think that Result is always going to be better when you do the true and tried. So normally I'd be doing this outside because you can see the mess that it's making. It does make a huge mess, but it's like the time of year for me right now. I know that you could be watching this in January or December, right? But for me, it's August and it's really hot outside out here in East Texas. So I'm doing this inside. I'm going to have to use my vacuum cleaner to clean up the mess. So I'm just going to continue with this scraping, and I'm not going to bore you guys to death, so I'll be back. Okay, you made me do it. So look what I did. Got my wire brush on the drill. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I guess it works pretty decent on this kind of a fiberglass headliner. Okay, I'm not going to say I was wrong, and I'm not going to say I was right, but the result is about the same on this type of a headliner. So like I say, I would never use this on a softer base headliner, and I would never ever use this on a BMW headliner, because the adhesive that they use for the BMW headliner, it never dries, never gets hard. So it's got like a syrupy, sticky consistency to it. That would be a real huge mess if I was using a wire wheel like this on a BMW headliner. But for this Suburban and other GMCs, about, what was this, a 2003, I believe? It's working, isn't it? Well, I guess I'd have to say in this case here that my handheld wire brush is still faster than the drill, the wire brush on the drill. Sorry folks, but today old school wins. So with this wire brush, you get a little bit more of a workout. Okay, to be fair, let's give this one more shot. It still does leave something behind that I probably have to go back, should go back and clean up. So, tell me what you think. Which is better, the wire brush or the electric drill brush? Put it in the comments. Well, that wasn't so bad. Took me about 10 minutes to do this right here. Most of it was with the wire brush. And about maybe 10% of it was with the drilled wire brush. Time to clean the mess. So this is the color the customer wanted to go with. It's different from what it had before. He had a light gray on there before, but now he wants to go to a charcoal because he doesn't want to show as much dirt on his headliner. But all his plastic parts and visors are going to be a different color, but I guess he's okay with that. So here we go. Now that I have the headliner prepped, I'm going to take our fabric that I've already trimmed out, lay it over the top like that. So what we are going to be doing, I'm going to be demonstrating here, is technique number 42. So that's a low number because it is so important and it is used so often. When I go to glue this on, what I'm going to do is, technique number 42 is half and half. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue half of the headliner, half of the material. We'll lay that over on there like that. Then we'll flip this over and we'll do half of the material, half of the headliner. That's the half and half technique. Number 42. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel and have never seen me talk about this before, which I do often, is I only use contact adhesive for this type of glue. Actually, I use contact adhesive for everything that I do. I never use any of that stuff in the spray can that sounds like 3 men. Okay, never use that stuff. This is it. This is permanent. This is trustworthy, and it's never failed on me. So now for technique number 1732. That's how to spray the glue on the headliner material. So what you want to do is you want to be able to spray it and let it fan out over the top. So you're really spraying it out and letting it drop and fall onto the top of the material. You never want to go directly down on the material. So what will happen is the glue will soak right through this foam here. And you really don't want that because it's going to really be bad. So I guess I'll give you an example here. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Okay, you can see there what happened is the glue went right through it, and it's permeated everything. So you can see even the foam here is going to start to expand because it's just soaked in glue. So what's going to happen there is if you go to put the headliner back up and your finger, it happens to press that spot right there, it's going to leave a big crater, a big old fingerprints on the bottom, showing on your headliner. So we don't want that. You can see here it's already disfigured that area of the material. So what the technique is to spray it out over the foam and let it drop. So now for technique number 29. Okay, so what that technique is imagine if right here in this area I didn't put enough glue and I got this big old bald spot right here. What the technique means is that where there's no glue, it won't stick. So you make sure that you get a nice even coat of glue over everything with no bald spots. Now to do both sides. Now comes the fun part, is laying this material over the top. So what you want to do is you want to lay it down in one nice easy motion. You don't want to have to lift back up again. Okay, this isn't one of those situations where you're waiting 5 or 10 minutes for the glue to dry before you put the pieces together. Because we're working with foam, it's okay to go right away. No waiting. So just lay it over the top like that. Make sure you have overlap all the way around before you commit yourself. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to start from the center. Just use a flat hand like this, not fingertips, okay? So just a flat hand like that. You start from the center and you work your way out. This is especially important in these corners right here. Because you can see how deep, it's got a deep corner right here. So you want to go to the corner first. Like that because of the material. So that way you don't come up short. Rub these inside corners really well. That's the first place it's going to fail on you if there's not enough glue. Now let's do the other side. Okay, now lay this side down. So now this is a very important technique. This is the one I was talking about in the very beginning. Remember the problem where they cut it right to the edge and that's where the problem started? Well, what I do is I actually wrap the material all the way around. That way that never happens again. Better than factory. Now I trim all the excess material off. What I do is I leave about a good inch and a half overlap. You see that right there? And then what you do is you fold it over. Just like that. So next is cutting out all the access holes. So this is where that coat hanger was. So usually what I do is I'll just cut an X on each corner like that. And that is enough. That's enough for this thing to pass through. Just like that. And we got a dome light here. Basically do the same. Just cut an X. Just like that. And that is the finished rear portion of a headliner right there. So the front headliner is going to be exactly the same process, just a little more complicated because it has more parts and pieces that have to be removed and reinstalled, and more holes like this that has to be cut out. But that's the process. Now we just have to put everything in back in the car. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Well, the small rear one goes in first. So I'm going to go take it outside and let's get this thing installed. So now for technique number 3422. What that is I let the glue and the headliner dry overnight. I don't install it the same day. Because what I want to do is I want to give the glue time to dry. That way when I put it back in, I don't leave like little fingerprints or like little craters with my fingers. Even though I handle it with a flat hand when I go to reinstall it, I don't want to risk getting the little craters all over the place because the glue is still fresh. So we'll let it dry overnight and I'll install it in the morning. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So until next time, my friends, we'll see ya.